Will you pray with me this prayer written by Rabbi Emily Aviva Kapoor Mater, a radical trans-feminist rabbi? Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessing upon our community, the holy assembly of all transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people, and upon all who cross over the boundaries of life. Grant us life and happiness from your abundance of blessings, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. Grant us the strength to create and to be created, to form and to be formed, and to fulfill your will, to love all creation and to pursue peace. Teach us truth and justice, for you are a shield for all the oppressed. Send relief and righteousness to all our community, and may your goodness be with us as it was with our ancestors. Blessed are you, God, who makes justice and peace for all who cross over the boundaries of life. Amen. At the moment, as we're all aware, the United States is a society far from embodying transgender justice. We know the statistics about transgender women of color being murdered and transgender youth facing harassment. We know that transgender immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers are being detained, and deported. And we know that folks who are transgender don't have full legal protection in almost any state in this country. And in the faith of these injustices, and in also the celebration of our beautiful, resilient community, we have come together today to celebrate transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. We have come together to acknowledge and celebrate everyone's dignity and worth. As we pray today, I want us to remember that the change that we are longing for, that we are waiting for, it is nothing short of a change in the hearts and minds of society. It is Jesus' new realm here on earth for those of us who believe that way. And I think that if we retold that parable, that in today's vernacular that we just heard, it might go something like this. As Jesus went about the city, he met a person who had been assigned male at birth, but who was actually a woman. He learned her story over a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Jesus' friends knew her too, and when they saw Jesus talking with her outside the Starbucks, they said, "Rabbi, who sinned and caused this person to be transgender? This woman or her parents?" And Jesus answered, "No one sinned. Transgender people exist for the same reason everyone else does, so that people might see God's mighty works in human form. And while it's daytime, we must do the works of God who sent me. A time is coming when no one can work, but while I am in the world, I'm the light of the world." And after this, he spit on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and smeared the mud on the woman's head. She was a little confused by all this, but she really liked Jesus, and he did buy her a coffee, so she let him do it, just to see what might happen. So he put the mud on her head, and then he said to her, "Go wash in that fountain over there." Well, that was a relief, because she sure didn't want to walk around with mud on her head. So she went away and washed, and when she returned, suddenly everybody recognized her for the person that she really was. The woman's neighbors and those who used to say she was a man said, "Wasn't this person a man?" And some people said yes, and others said, "No, it's somebody who looks like him." But the woman said, "Oh yeah, it's me. Remember? I told you. I always told you I'm a woman." So they asked her, "How do we now see you as a woman?" And she answered, "I don't know. The man they called Jesus made mud, smeared it on my forehead, and said, 'Go wash it off.' And I went and washed, and now you all can see who I really am. I didn't change. You did." They asked, "Where is this man Jesus?" She said, "I don't know." They were afraid, so they led the woman to the government officials. Now Jesus had made it so that everyone knew she was a woman, but he hadn't given her any birth certificate. So the government officials asked her how it was that they could see who she really was, since she didn't have the proper paperwork. And the woman told them, "Jesus put mud on my forehead, I washed it off, and now you can all see who I am." And the government officials said, Jesus can't be from God, because he doesn't believe in the gender binary. Others said, "He must be from God. How could a sinner do such miraculous signs like these?" So they were divided. And some of the government officials questioned the woman again. "What do you have to say about him? since he's the one who caused people to see who you really are?" And she replied, "He's a prophet." The government officials didn't believe the woman's story, so they called her parents. And the government officials asked them, "Is this your daughter? Are you saying you can now see who she really is? How can that be?" Her parents answered, "We know she's our daughter. We know she has always been our daughter. But we don't know how you all now see her for who she really is, and we don't know who made that happen. Ask her. She's old enough to speak for herself." Her parents said this because they feared the governmental authorities. This was because the authorities had already decided that people who didn't believe in the gender binary would be kicked out of society. That's why her parents said, "She's old enough. Ask her." So they called a second time for the woman who had been assigned male at birth and said, "Give glory to God and tell the truth. We know this man Jesus was a sinner." And the woman answered, "Look, I don't know whether he's a sinner, but here's what I do know. I was assigned male at birth, and I'm not, and now you all can see who I really am. That's it." They questioned her, "What did he do to you? How did he cause everyone to see who you really are?" She replied, "I already told you, and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his followers?" They insulted her. "You are his follower, but we follow Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but we don't think that this man is from God." The woman answered, "This is incredible. You don't think he's from God, but he caused everyone to see who I really am, my authentic self. And we know that God doesn't listen to people who aren't from God. God listens to anyone who is devout and does God's will. No one has ever heard of someone being able to change the hearts and minds of so many people so that they could see someone for who they really are and get beyond the gender binary. If this man wasn't from God, there's no way he could do this." And they responded, "Who are you to teach us?" And then they expelled her. Jesus heard that the government officials had expelled the woman from society, and finding her, Jesus said to her, "Do you believe in the chosen one?" And she answered, "Who is he, sir? I want to believe in him." And Jesus said, "You have seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." The woman said, "I believe." And she worshiped Jesus. And Jesus said, "I have come into the world to exercise judgment, so that those who aren't seen as themselves will be recognized for who they really are, and those who refuse to see the truth will be recognized as frauds." Some of the government officials heard him and what he said, and they said, "Well, surely we aren't frauds, are we?" And Jesus said, "If you were truthful, you wouldn't be. But now that you say we're not frauds, when you clearly don't see things as they are, you certainly are." My friends, may we create a world where officials are truthful, where everyone is recognized and celebrated and known and loved for exactly who they are. And most especially today, may we create that world for our transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary siblings. May we move beyond the binaries and recognize the beautiful diversity that our God has created. Amen.